We're all about the meatballs. Welcome back, everyone, to Hey USA. My name is Nick Garcia, senior reporter, Play USA, and with me, as always, Brant James, lead writer, Play USA. Brant, why don't you tell the viewers and listeners what they got in store for today?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Today's going to be a lot about New York. The state of New York is trying to launch online sports betting. There are a lot of folks that are willing, apparently, to pay a whole bunch of money for it. And rather than have to actually read and stuff, we're going to bring in Mike Mazzeo from Play NY, and he's going to explain this in depth as only he can.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. Before we get into that, is there anything to rehash, anything that we're looking out other than New York?
Louisiana has begun retail sports betting. That's very exciting. Connecticut is winding up. They don't have online yet. So the folks there, we'll actually touch on this with Mike. It seems like the good folks of New York have a taste for legal sports betting, because just as they're starting, they've been building bridges and schools in the state of New Jersey. It appears they're already beginning to do that in Connecticut. So good news for all the bordering states. They would probably hope that New York keeps it under wraps for a while.
The Northeast is just being a hotbed for sports betting. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a mushroom pod. You can notice how they pop up. It happened in the Northeast. It's happened in the Midwest for sure. Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, in that area. And it'd be interesting to see what happens in the Mountain West around Colorado, Arizona, Nevada.
It is. All right. We won't keep everyone waiting any longer. Let's bring on Mike right now.
Okay, so live from the East Coast Gambling Congress, Mike Mazzeo, how are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
We're doing well, but we have one simple question for you. Please explain to us what's happening in New York.
It's definitely a process. So right now, today is a significant deadline for potential applicants. They need to be in compliance with the tax rate that was put into place by the New York State Gaming Commission. It basically ranges from 64% if there's only 4 operators to, if there's a middle number of operators, 50%. And then if they take everybody, it would be 35%. So that's just part of the process, but that's where we are right now. Definitely a significant step as we hope for launch, hopefully during the NFL playoffs in January, and then perhaps fully operational by the Super Bowl on February 13th.
So this is the tax stuff, kind of the boring stuff that we don't kind of watch a little bit. How many steps would you say are left before that, left to go before we get legal sports betting in New York?
Right. So this would be a significant one. And then I think before December 6th, the New York State Gaming Commission has to select applicants for license.
Okay.
Then there would be an amendment process in that. And then again, hopefully by January during the NFL playoffs, the first bet would be made. That's what Joe Adabo, Gary Pretlow, a lot of the lawmaking advocates for this online legal sports betting in New York have hoped for. Might be easier said than done, but certainly this is a pretty significant step, I think, in that direction.
It was interesting. The Adabo Pretlow sort of high holy priests of sports betting possibility in New York. What's their temperature right now about the process and their hope level for getting something going sooner rather than later?
Right. I mean, I think the significant thing was New Jersey going over $1 billion in sports wagering handle in September. And Joe told me, I'm very frustrated. There's a lot of other F words I might throw in there about that, but these guys want to get this thing off the ground, obviously. And I think they're sort of probably feeling the pressure. And I think they hope the New York State Gaming Commission is feeling the pressure with New Jersey's huge numbers, Connecticut now getting in the mix, them getting some New York traffic. So New York losing a lot of tax revenue, which goes to education, jobs, all those important things states want and citizens need. And so Gary even making a last-ditch attempt to talk to the Hochul administration recently. I'm not sure how that's going to work because legislature is not in session right now. It doesn't happen until January, but he basically wanted there to be an open process, very similar to how it was in New Jersey with the low tax rate, and everybody who wants to get in can get in. Whether they fail or not is up to them, but let anybody who wants to be in business get into business. And so I don't know if that's feasible at this point, but that's what Gary was hoping for late last week.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that. I'm sorry to interrupt, just because you had led into it so perfectly. Our good friends at Geo Comply tell us that 38% of Connecticut's wagering activity has originated from the southwestern corner of the state, with heavy volumes being concentrated in Stamford and Bridgeport, and other highway entry points stretching north along the New York border have also been hotspots. So just like all those dollars flowing into, the Philadelphia area, or, into New Jersey when Philadelphia kind of bled over, the New Yorkers going to Philadelphia, it seems like they have a taste for doing it legally, and now they're building stuff in Connecticut, just like they have been in other states. That's got to add some pressure.
I totally agree. I mean, you look at Jersey, again, what the lawmakers think, what the experts think is that 20 to 25% of that $1 billion is coming from New Yorkers. That's what, 200 million, 250 million. We're talking huge numbers that New York is losing out on every day, every month that they don't have this thing up and running. And so again, I think there is a lot of pressure to get into that January, February, what they call Q1 2022 range to get this thing going so that they're not losing money to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and then even obviously the illegal bookies as well.
Nice. Mike, what are you like most excited to see next? Like what is the big thing that you're eyeing, that you're hoping to see come out of all this?
I just hope that, they hit the deadlines, right? I mean, the longer this thing drags out, the more, potential lawsuits that could come into play. Hopefully there isn't any of that, but certainly I think Brant with Florida, you've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, potentially holding things up at the end when they're at the 5-yard line. So, I think you just hope that the New York State Gaming Commission, all the deadlines that have been set, according to the state legislature, that stuff all gets hit, and that, there's no setbacks or anything like that. We're not starting from square one. They want that Super Bowl because that's obviously a huge day for sports betting, probably the biggest day for sports betting. And then, you've got March Madness, and then you just get on that normal sports calendar.
Yeah.
And then you're making a ton of money, and, you hope to add the jobs and, bring in that money for education, state funding, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully there's no setbacks. And I think the next step would be, maybe there's going to be another meeting in November for the New York State Gaming Commission, but certainly that before December 6th date in terms of them getting the applicants and providing the licenses, and then, finalizing things for hopefully early 2022 launch is significant. And, hopefully this works out.
Yeah. Not to get too wonky with it again, but who is that? Do you have an idea, a sense who that 64% bidder is? The one who's going to way overpay? We've heard, and you've talked with us before on this show about this sort of conglomeration of all-star bidders, nothing but hitters going in together to win this bid. Do we know who it is? You got a feel?
I think, Brant, I think you're right. I think that's the speculation among industry people, is that the Big Four was the person. I mean, I'm not reporting this, but that is the speculation, is that people in the industry think that DraftKings, Bally's, BetMGM, DraftKings consortium was the one, because they want to be the only four in the state, and they're willing to pay that $25 million licensing fee each up front. And I think that does make a lot of sense. I mean, maybe it is one of those single bidders that wants to get everybody else out, but I do think because those four, the Big Four, have 80% of the market share, it does make sense they'd be willing to give up, a significant portion in taxes to New York State to be the only four to run things. And that is kind of the speculation from industry insiders on that.
Yeah. 24% of a lot is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah. I'm an underdog guy. I'm hoping Fanatics kind of sneaks in there. I want to see what they can do.
Are you? Tennessee Action 24/7 just totally steals this one. Did not see that coming.
I mean, Mike, thanks for the recap. I mean, what are you writing right now? What can readers and viewers expect coming out of you? Are you working on anything special?
I don't know if anything special, but I'm certainly here in Atlantic City, so hopefully get
special.
a few stories out of this. But I did write. Hopefully it does go up about leagues being more transparent in terms of lineup and injury data.
Okay.
I think that's something that should change now that they are partnering and taking advertising dollars. Obviously, we see the DraftKings ads, we see the Betway ads, we see this stuff plastered all over the place. I do think that, again, I understand traditionalists, non-sports bettors are totally going to disagree with this and say, well, it's not up to the coaches and the GMs to provide you who the starting goalie is that night. But again, if they're taking money from DraftKings, BetMGM, Bally's, FanDuel, all these huge consortiums and conglomerates, I think they owe it to sports bettors to tell them at least who's going to be in the starting lineups.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't tell them everything. Obviously, there's some injuries that need to be kept under wraps. Somebody's going through personal stuff. Certainly that's not something that you want out there as a team. But again, who your starting goalie is, there's pretty much two options in hockey. And so bettors should know whether it's Vasilevsky or Elliott, for example, with the Lightning, right? One is an all-world goalie that's going to give them a phenomenal chance to win it, and then another's a backup who, again, with the supporting cast, they've got a really good chance to win every night. But that's a game changer, and so I do hope there's more transparency from leagues in terms of lineup and injury data.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, in that post, we'll be sure and link it in the description below. So, any final thoughts, gentlemen, on New York?
Hopefully things go according to plan. They usually never do, but it would be nice if they did on this front.
Nice.
Well, let us report hard, report well from the East Coast Gambling Congress, and we will link what you write in the description because I'm looking forward to it. I know everybody else is too.
Brant and Nick, thanks so much for having me.
Well, there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed that discussion with Mike Mazzeo. You can get his stuff over at playny.com. With that, be sure and like, follow, and subscribe. We'll be back next week. Have a good one.